Good morning. Today we're on a farm in Berkshire for the launch of the government's long-awaited land use framework.
We're going to have it today, and that's the first spade in the ground for a much more coherent, efficient, effective debate about how we can use land in multifunctional ways.
Later we'll hear more from the farming minister. This is Sonning Farm, the University of Reading's farm, which has had a long history of agricultural research. The farm here has 180 hectares on the banks of the Thames. You might be able to hear the beef and dairy cattle here in the shed behind me. Reading University is actually celebrating its 100th birthday today, but the farm at the university has been here much longer. The heart of its research here is based around the crop research unit, which we'll hear about a little later. But with me is Simon Mortimer, head of the School of Agriculture, Policy and Development.
The two research farms we have are absolutely essential for teaching practice, but also we have a very significant research programme at Sonning Farm that's focused on our crops research. At our second farm at Hall Farm, primarily that's focused on livestock.
What do students look at? Are they looking to the future? They're finding out about how farming has to change.
Exactly. So a lot of the research we're doing, which informs our teaching, is focused on resilience, particularly in the face of challenges around climate. It's looking at new farming systems. So we're doing a lot of research at the moment on agroforestry and on ways of incorporating nature and biodiversity back into farming systems to reduce our reliance on chemicals and inputs.
There's always new learning to be done, isn't there? But it has to get back onto the land, back out to real farming.
Exactly. So our farm is a Leaf Innovation Centre. We have a strong programme of activities that bring farmers and other people from the industry onto the farm to look at innovation and the results of our research findings here.
We're going to be discussing land use today and the land use framework, which has just been launched by the government. How do students here learn about that?
Well, hopefully the farming systems that we can expose them to here will demonstrate that multifunctionality of farming. And so in the research that we do here, we can demonstrate some of the components that may form the farming systems of the future.
We're just walking through the farmyard here at Sonning Farm, and I'm with the Deputy Vice-Chancellor here, Professor Parveen Yaqub. Parveen, you've been working very much on sustainability of farming, but future farming as well. One of the reasons why the land use framework is coming out is to cope with climate change and look at the way that land can be used and how it should be used in the face of climate change.
That's right. I'm leading a programme called Agri-Food Futures, and it's about thinking about what farming is going to look like in 25 years' time. We know that climate change is a reality, and we need to be able to adapt and develop resilience and understand what farming is going to look like in 25 years' time, how we're going to grow crops, what are the types of crops that we're going to be able to grow.
The land use framework says that 6% of land will have to have permanent change because of climate change. So we have to think about different ways of farming on 6% of the land across England, which actually is a very large amount of hectarage.
We need to use our land smarter, and smarter land use is about better soil productivity, and that's the basis of a lot of the research that we're doing. Long-term studies on how we protect soil health over a number of years. We need to be less reliant on fertilisers and pesticides, but maintain yield and productivity. And we really need to think hard about how climate is going to affect our farming and how we're going to adapt to that.
And one of the problems then is making sure that the right land is used for the right thing, but no one wants to dictate to farmers exactly what they should be doing. And there's also going to be a national soil map. How significant is it to have the data to make sure that farmers know what they can do on their land?
It's absolutely critical. We know that farmers are facing risks and challenges every day, and our role as a university is to support them with trusted and evidence-based solutions, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Professor Parveen Yaqub.
So these are our calves. So our main dairy is on our second farm, but we keep our young stock here at Sonnings. But it's the main focus for our crops research here.
We've come out onto the farm itself. We're looking at crops growing in the fields. The farm minister, Angela Eagle, has arrived and she's being shown round, and she'll be hearing about the crop research unit here to see practical solutions to the challenges facing farmers and land use.
So I'm just going to set the scene from up here where you can see what's going on. So the farm is very much influenced by the river. There's a patch of sunshine just beyond the first fence line. That's the River Thames. Right. Everything this side of that hedge line to this fence generally floods during the winter. And then we've got a bit of a gravel terrace above that, which is where we do all our crop research work.
Right.
So what we're going to do is just go down the track and then move in to look at what we call the liberation rotations, which are different intensities of cropping.
So are you looking at yield for that?
Well, originally it was PhD students were looking at below ground bugs and beasties.
Soil health.
Yes, soil health,
Okay,
that's the one.
fine. Yeah.
But also the pollinators and the effects of different rotations on pollinators.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's go and have a look.
Let's go and have a look.
Okay. In fact, we've approved drought.
Farming Minister Angela Eagle was here not just to look at the research on this farm, but to launch the government's new land use framework, which they say will give farmers, councils, environmental groups and developers the data about England's land through a national soil map, so they can make better decisions about how it's used.
Well, it's about creating a map of the UK and saying that we can actually have multi-uses for the land, which benefit both productivity for farmers, nature and biodiversity, and actually engage in processes that mean we have more resilience as a country. So our analysis shows that we can produce the same amounts of food but have a better, more effective use of land.
You're going to have a national soil map, but who analyses the data and who decides whether land will be for food production, for instance, or solar or biodiversity?
Yeah. The land use framework is a framework, so it's a tool that everybody can use. And the data that is collected and the information that is collected is going to be transparently available. So what we're not going to do is say, well, we have decided in secret this is the best place to do whatever it is, have a solar farm or prime agricultural land. What we will do is make the information available, and so people's decisions, as a farmer, you will be able to have a look at the framework and think, well, I could get this kind of extra productivity out of the land, or I could have some sort of different mixers, I could do different things around the borders to help biodiversity. Or if you want to diversify your income as a farmer, you could also, if you've got some land that isn't prime agricultural land, you could maybe have another income by having a solar on it. And so the thing is, this framework won't tell anyone to do anything. It will provide information so people can make decisions, all based on the same accepted data.
You seem to be framing this framework along the lines of helping farmers increase productivity and produce food. And food security is national security.
I mean, the framework itself says that it is our aim to ensure that we produce the same amount of food that we produce now. So we may not be able to use all the land we use now. Some of the land that's used may be more suitable for other things, such as agroforestry, re-wetting peatlands. But what we're saying very much is that this will not and doesn't have to lead to a reduction in production for food purposes.
You say that some of England's best farm land must be protected from solar panels, for instance, but I would say that some people, especially in areas where there have been a lot of solar panels, might say that we've lost an awful lot of productive land already because of solar panels?
Well, as a percentage of overall land in England, it's still way smaller.
But that's
than
overall
golf
land in
courses.
England, isn't it? So if you took Lincolnshire, it's 12%.
Well, I mean, we need to have this framework so that people can see where that is and where the best use of land is and what multi-purposes of particular land are. And I would argue that it's the absence of frameworks like this that have caused that kind of trouble. So when we actually publish this, everybody, including investors, farmers, builders for new housing, people who want to have domestic production of energy so that we're not so connected to issues that might arise in the Middle East, for example, can see where it's best put, where the most efficient and effective place to do all of these different uses is, without compromising our ability to grow food.
Will you be giving any financial help, extra financial help, to allow farmers to choose where they grow things? You do mention that there would be some help maybe for farmers who need to farm in maybe flooded areas or drought-stricken areas to look at new crops to grow.
Well, I mean, we want to see what we can do to improve resilience, and some of that is using land more appropriately and fittingly for what it's best for, be it nature sustainability or food production or indeed other uses. And I think that what will happen over time is the insights from this database will begin to inform the grant system itself, and everyone will be making decisions based on the same basic data and effectiveness of land use. So I think over time there'll be a coming together of all of those different ideas, and I am always in the market for thinking about how we can help the transformation of agriculture. We're in the middle of that transformation, and obviously agri-tech and new tech, more resilient crops, which are being looked at here at Sonning Farm, are part of that answer. But also it's obvious, if we get to a stage where we've got to do some transformation, that the government will want to see what it can do to assist, so farmers can do their business hopefully more productively and profitably.
The decision making is really key, isn't it? It's who has the power to decide what happens where. So you are going to have a government land use unit.
The land use framework will be that tool that will help everybody go to the source of information so they can make those decisions in a coherent way. And that's why I'm so pleased we've managed to publish that framework today. It will evolve over time, and the land use unit in DEFRA will make sure it does. So the more information we get, the more that will be incorporated into this basic tool that everybody can look at. So everybody is actually looking at the same facts before they make their decisions.
But it's not going to ring fence extremely productive land and say, you are a housing person, sorry, you can't build on here.
The tool is there for everybody to look to see what the potential for that land is.
But it's not telling people what they can and can't do.
The framework isn't, no. But we hope that people will be very sensible and look to see what it says about that particular parcel of land. And obviously, if planning needs to be given and it seems to be a wrong use of land, then that would be an argument, I would have thought, for people who maybe think the wrong use of land is being proposed, to argue against it.
Farming Minister Angela Eagle, and we'll hear reaction to the announcement in tomorrow's programme. That's all from us today. From Berkshire, I'm Anna Hill. The producer was Rebecca Rooney. Farming Today is a BBC Audio Bristol production.